Cool. So again, thank you, Mark Kimbrell, for being with us. This is so awesome. I really have been enjoying the album the last few days, just like revisiting the trek that it is. Before we go over like anything sonic, anything about the sound of the album or like the conception and all that, what is the theory behind the title of the album?
Well, yeah, that it's something that is really was bouncing around in my brain like for a while. Um, you know,
Like,
uh,
is every motherfucker a brother?
yeah, I mean, to me, it's sort of a mantra. It's like what I tell myself when I'm trying to deal with just how fucked the world is. Um, try to
Totally.
comprehend what people do, why they do it, how the people that are doing you know incomprehensible things somehow we're somehow still 99% the same. uh
Yeah,
so it just kind of it was sort of there, and then as we started recording it, and in the context of recording it and just everything, it just sort of seemed like a natural fit for where we were, um just in terms of headspace at the time.
that's cool. Yeah, all camps get behind it. So it sounds like I think if you're listening to a lot like other projects related to you guys, like Upsilon or any of like the jazz or like duo things that you guys participate in, uh, a lot of the times if you hear Oort Smog, you might think that it's improvised. You might think that it's sort of like a cut out of a larger improvisation. Is that true to an extent, or is it something that's mostly composed?
So at the outset, like the first record was like 90% composed, with some kind of blocked out improv sections. Then with this one, with Every Motherfucker, it's it's maybe more about an even split of composed material and improvised stuff that is has over time kind of it has its own sort of structure and flow to it, but every time we play it, it's different. Um,
Mm,
so there's chunks that are improvised that and aspects of them may be largely the same night
right.
to night, and then sometimes kind of takes left turns here and there. Um, so so definitely there's definitely a framework, but some of that framework's super tight, some of it's wide open.
That's cool. I've only been in like I've been in a lot of bands, obviously most of them like written parts and lots of extended navigating how are we going to approach these things or what part's going to go where and stuff. But I've also been a part of like at least one project where it's maybe just a little bit like that, but it's more of a product of what is happening like in a normal conversation. It's hard to describe where it's like it really literally just becomes like we shut up and start playing. And it's been a long time since I was involved in something like that, but I do remember that it had such a distinct energy, and I feel like you can almost tell maybe again if this is maybe coming from someone who's been analyzing your stuff like kind of putting it under a microscope, but I feel like there may be some parts where I could feel like whoa, there's like life and improvisation coming out of this moment. And there's definitely there's also really long ambient pauses and stuff that are really cool to just drone out to. But it's cool that you balance that all in the space of I guess one track. Was it always going to be one track?
Yeah, we kind of the mission statement for this record was coming out of the first one, where like I don't think there was anything longer than like 2.5 minutes. Uh,
Right.
we where everything was just super condensed, kind of kind of frenetic. We said let's get as far from that as possible composition. Let's just do one
Oh,
long thing, one, approach it just as a whole.
that's cool. Yeah, because it's definitely almost like on a grindcore spectrum. The first record where it's just like hit over, and
Yeah,
just
yeah.
like that's really cool though. And I think that like some of the literature that exists on the band refers to like how you guys were influenced by old school jazz duos, and it's really cool how you can hear that no matter what you guys are doing. But the way that Patrick has his stuff rigged up through an amp gives it like it's subtle, but it's definitely a weird edge where you're like, I've heard this kind of tonality used in a lot of different genres. And obviously, you've heard it like to an extent in music like this, but I don't know. I think that it's cool hearing it go through speakers and then get picked up through a microphone. There's like a subtle sense of distortion and stuff that um, does like the tonality and the differences between electric and acoustic, for instance, does that influence you as a drummer?
Yeah, and I think, as a drummer, like the text, like I approach music from a really textural standpoint in terms of like the sound. What does it sound like? Because I don't know what key the song is in,
Sure.
but you know, um, so it does, and I think part of the, may where we tend to do a good amount of experimentation is in dialing in those sounds, trying different things, trying to just capture different sort of sonic feelings of, and seeing how many different ways we can make it sound with just drums and saxophone.
I
uh,
see. Oh, it looks like Patrick is trying to get up in here. Let's see if we can admit him.
What's up?
Hey,
Oh,
welcome.
hello. Sorry.
Oh no, not at all. Not at all. What you eating?
I'm eating a fucking protein bar because
Oh
I've been at the
no.
studio for like the past 3 hours and fuck me. So,
I'm
oh
so
yeah.
sorry.
all right, well, perfect timing. I was just running out of embarrassing stories to tell about you.
Oh no. No, we were just about to begin, maybe, as far
Oh yeah.
as the embarrassing stories go. Um, yeah, we just kind of recapped the theory of every motherfucker is your brother and how it's
Hell
like
yeah.
more of the mantra than more of a less of a genetic theory than it is a mantra in frustrating moments. Sounds about
Yeah.
right?
That is 100% right.
Okay, cool.
I'm also
Nice.
driving, so I'm sorry I'm not gonna be animated, but Mark, I
Oh,
think, is gonna have all the fucking hell yeah, and then I'll chime in.
no, that's good. Yeah, as long as we're not distracting you from what you need to do. How was the studio?
It was fine. It was good. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, sometimes even when it's a good day, it feels like the worst day on earth, so I get it.
Yeah, and I don't even know if I'm gonna make the record or whatever, but it's just like recording the parts. Like, all right, this is what are you gonna do? I need
Nothing.
to I need to try and hustle and
Yeah,
make money because eating is also cool.
it is
Yeah,
cool.
power bars.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, actually, yeah, you problem solved. There you go.
yo, hell yeah, I can get like fucking so many power bars after today. Holy shit!
Dude, I
Yeah.
figured that this is because of the armed.
Actually, they did tell me which one to get, and this one tastes really good.
Which
But
one is it?
it's Met RX. You see it?
Oh man, it looks like a laxative.
I mean, it helps me shit for sure.
Yeah.
This is Super Cookie Crunch.
All right.
Noted. Noted, viewers. Cool. Okay, so actually, next up after that important bit of information, I wanted to say I watched the film today, like the whole thing,
Hey,
uh, at
Cool.
work, and I like tuned out 100% what was going on at work because I was like, what the hell is this? So really interesting. Have you guys seen it? Like the final cut or whatever?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't want to like ask like, hey, what's going on? But I would like maybe do you guys have any insight as far as like the symbology, the weird like aesthetic text that comes in? There was a lot going on and I was like, is this related to the record or is this kind of like just an interpretation as a separate piece of art?
Um, I'd say it's probably more the latter. So Dylan Pecora, the filmmaker, he's a he's a mad guy and total genius. He kind of he had sort of pitched us a treatment that was one thing, and then he kind of followed the muse elsewhere to what I think is probably even cooler than what he first described. And he didn't really we didn't have like a bunch of conversation about symbology or kind of whatever visual metaphors he was going to use. He's kind of like you know he told us where he was going to shoot, sent us some photos, kind of like the general visual aesthetic of it, and we just said go for it. Because it was just he's I don't know, like it it puts a I think, like for us, especially there only being two of us collaborating with other people, just it's nice to just get another dimension on things.
Oh yeah.
um and so he's someone who just kind of seems to understand what we're doing intuitively and be able to add to that. So I think we just kind of had total trust in him there.
Well, it's well placed. Yeah, because it's kind of like it's like a very, I don't know, it's so surreal. It reminds me a little bit of like what was going on with that movie that came out last year, The Green Knight, where it's kind of
Oh yeah.
Hell yeah.
like it's stoner-ish, it's kind of like it's more mythological and symbolic than it belongs to any particular genre. So it's just like an interesting piece of art I found. So I definitely felt the same way about the film. But the whole time I was like, I it's not that I am distracted by the fact that I couldn't relate the film and the album. I was just like, I'm sort of processing these things in parallel, which was a unique experience. So like either way, I think that was really well done. Whatever's really going on there.
I think
Um,
Dylan's like kind of like a fucking genius. We've worked with him in the past. He's done like an Upsilon video for us. Did he do one off of the first record, Mark?
Yeah.
He did a record for the first off our first record. He's done
Yeah.
a couple solo things for me too. He just is. He has such a cool perspective via art, and I don't know. We 100% like trust him completely, and we're so hyped that he was down to do like a full length fucking thing. Like I'm pretty sure a lot of people would have been like, I don't know, and we're fucking DIY, so the pay was also not that spectacular.
yeah, dude, paying
But
breakfast burritos.
yeah, yeah, exactly. But he's like, he's a lifer like us, and so it's I imagine we'll hit him up when we work on and release the third record, and love Dylan.
Should we
Yeah,
send him a case of power bars as a thank you?
There you go. I'll send him the good shit.
Yeah.
and maybe it'll inspire his next move.
Yeah.
Um, so in terms of how many shows would you guys say you've played in support of the album?
Is it like probably like less than a dozen, I think.
We went up the West Coast. Well, we opened for like Liturgy and
Yeah.
Big Brave and our record release show.
and the
Zebulon, I
agriculture,
think, right?
yeah, the
Oh,
Zebulon
yeah,
show.
Agriculture Fest.
Yeah.
So a good, yeah, a good amount. I was gonna ask really like kind of the follow up to that is like, have you guys talked about incorporating any of the weird film in like a visual aspect to the shows or not?
Yeah, we've talked about it. We had at some point, like, we were kind of around the record release, we're gonna try to get something where we could kind of do like a whole, like, basically play the film.
Hmm.
Um and that just didn't come together uh time and location wise. So I'd still like to do that, something like that at some point. Um but we've not been able to make that happen yet. I think it's also a pretty heavy lift, just trying to figure out how to do it.
Oh yeah.
Sort of musical logistics with it. Um, but I think somewhere someday we'll make that happen.
I love hearing stories like that where like I know that it's probably going to happen. But I mean, over the last few years, especially after the pandemic, there were a lot of stories where we're in similar situations. I was like really stoked on someone's live show coming together for an album release, and then it was like I don't think it like I don't know. I'm not to call anyone's like production or anything out or put them on a spotlight or anything, but like I was so bummed when I was talking to Genghis Tron about their production for what was going to be their live stuff for their like kind of comeback thing. And then it all just kind of disappeared. And I'm just still crossing my fingers that more bands can continue to like incorporate cool visuals, get more production into their live shows, because hopefully that just keeps putting butts in seats, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, also this doesn't really feel as related, but like in the bullet points, the next one down is like the length between the or albums feels like kind of intentional too. Like it's been several years between it hasn't necessarily been several years since the last one came out, but is it a matter of waiting for the right moment to like get into the studio, or is it a matter of those ideas like just coming to you over time?
Um, I think it's both. I mean, it took us pretty long time to write this second record. Something like
A year and a half, huh?
year and a half of actually just writing it. And then just working around schedules and everyone meeting, mostly Pat's involvement in other things. He's off on tour and doing other stuff for big stretches, so we're kind of to fit things in around everything else that's going on.
Yeah, Patrick, you need to probably find a way to get a clone or two. You've got so much going on.
Yeah, we're gonna get the AI
Just trying
version.
to buy these power bars, man.
I well, I mean, this is semi-related actually. Like I was talking to Justin Pearson last week about how it appears from the outside, man, you are in like 100 bands, but he is really just a workaholic that is has a pretty worked out schedule. We just hear about it in a way that looks on paper like he's all over the place all the time. So like Patrick, have you felt any need to like get better at scheduling, or were you always good at scheduling?
I mean, things have changed drastically just in the past year. Like before, September of last year, I still had a day job, and so it was just pretty much, you know, zero touring, and it was just like work, and then after work would be like creation time or band practice or shows and stuff. Um, but since then, it's been yeah, I feel like I'm still getting into the groove of it and just being okay with, I think going from having this set amount of income, you know, the past 30 years or 25, whatever, I've been ever since college, like working, and then going to something that's like not set. I think I'm still trying to be okay with, just the money aspect, which kind of sucks. But I feel like organizing, I feel like it's not bad, It's just tough going back or going on the road and then coming home and then kind of resetting and then getting into the mindset of home life slash, the routine of, practicing and rehearsing it and things like that. Um, and
Yeah, that's
you
how I
know,
was going to lead into that. Is like, do you experience what a lot of people call like those post-tour blues?
I don't necessarily get blues, but I definitely need like a reset. So like for at least like 3 or 4 days, I just kind of have to be at home and just fucking, watch TV or just drink coffee and listen to records and just sit.
Oh, nice.
Kind of reset has been helpful. And Amber, my wife, was really helpful in that just because I'm so used to like going. Originally, I was like trying to do everything right off the bat, and I would just feel shitty, and all the music I would try to make was just shitty. Like I'm pretty sure I went to Oort Smog, practice with like shitty ass riffs, and then feel bad about it. So it's
It
just kind of like
happens.
being that kind of. I know now what I need to do when I come back from tour slash,
Dude,
preparing
yeah,
for
I
tour. Yeah.
It's a weird rhythm, and especially if you're going in and out too, getting those few days, that's got to be difficult, and squeezing your me time into the space of a week or so when maybe in reality you might want more. I can imagine that's pretty messed for your head. But I
Yeah.
mean, to sort of continue the conversation here with you two, do you guys also play a scissortronic trio? Is that with Dylan also?
So that is me, Dylan, and then Paul from Upsilon.
Okay, okay,
That
yeah.
was as of now, that's been like one show. Um, so we did that. We played with Richard Pinos, from Helden.
Sick.
Um, and so that I think that's I don't know if we'll do it again. This was just show just a couple weeks ago. We haven't talked about it, but that was I would call that like a sort of structured improvisation kind of thing.
Yeah. Do you guys, it seems like you both have an affinity for just like trying that out with different people.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, just get in a new situation and go for it.
Yeah. Is that something that like you kind of attribute to um like what you like to do, or something that you think is just better to do because of like music education, where like you have to go and jam with people in order to get better, or is that just kind of a natural tendency for you?
We just don't know how to say no to anything. No, I mean
Overexposure.
it's no, I mean it's I mean a lot of it I think just comes naturally. The situations arise naturally. It being around a large community of really good musicians, you just kind of um the opportunities emerge and if you're around and you feel like it, you just do it. I think it's pretty much as simple as that.
Yeah. Have you guys had any like favorite or notable things like that happen in the last couple of years? I know that a while ago I was talking to Patrick about his jam with Nick Reinhardt from Terra Mellos at like a little cafe, I think. And I was just so
Yeah,
blown
he's
away that all these
kicked.
people are just chilling in shops. And I was like, what the fuck, man? And I was born in San Pedro, or I was born in Bellflower, but I was raised in San Pedro for a long time. So I get like an extra amount of grief when I hear about all the cool shit happening down there. Um
I think like a notable improv thing was when I went to Japan. I got to play with uh, Yoshida Tatsuya from Ruins, and then Keiji Haino, and that was oh, oh
we're still here.
okay,
Yeah, we're good. But that is really
well,
amazing.
yeah, that's like dream come true shit, and really, I mean, for fucking Yoshida, I got pretty wasted because I was like, holy fuck, it's fucking Ruins guy, and then Keiji, I was surprisingly sober but very terrified.
Oh yeah.
That's how
That's
the scales go there.
Yeah, I was like,
Yeah,
let's check out.
Yeah.
yeah,
What was it like being on the Watt from Pedro show?
We've both done that, huh? I think and Dylan's done
yeah.
it, Paul's done it. So 80% of Upsilon Crux is
Rad.
done it. Um, I thought it was super fun. Um, he's
He's just so
he,
cool.
he's a high energy dude, you know.
Totally.
And I'm he has kind of like I think a somewhat standard approach to like background questions. He likes to talk about like what was your first exposure to music when you were a kid and stuff like that. Um, and then he's fun because he also just knows. I mean, he knows so much like rock and roll and jazz history that just talking to him, he tells you about a lot of cool stuff. So you kind of come away with a little enrichment there.
Oh yeah, of course. He's got such just a characteristic to him. I think I can't remember who I was talking to, but they said that everyone gets their ouchies or something. Like he always gives people shit, which I enjoy. He always seems like that anyway.
Yeah. I mean, he's a legend, man. He can do whatever the fuck he wants.
That's true. Yeah, no, I don't disagree. Do you want new wave or do you want the truth?
Yeah.
That's what I think of that often. I like, when I don't know how old I was when I like just saw that song title before I even listened to it, and I was like, that's badass.
Yeah.
Um, oh, this one should be interesting. What does the Popeyes manager special mean to you guys?
Oh man.
Can you even have that anymore?
I'll tell you what, my Popeyes points expired because I didn't order online for 6 months. So my accumulated Popeyes points expired. I
Wow, you
realized this
haven't
the other
gone
day.
6 months?
Yeah, I did not. And then I was so pissed. I had so many points. I had so many free apple pies waiting for me. They're up in smoke.
Damn.
So
We have to have like a fucking go to Popeyes like once a month kind of thing.
yeah, band meeting at Popeyes once.
Bad meeting, yeah.
That
It's
does
also
not
been a
sound like
minute
an
since
LA
I've
thing.
gone.
This doesn't sound like an LA thing.
That seems so weird. I mean, it makes sense, but yeah, it's been a long time. Uh, but is that I saw that on an ad from the Math Rock Intensifies slash Vent Ventures poster. Were you guys like eating a lot of those going up to that gig?
I think we just both love Popeyes. Like fried
Yeah,
chicken is like something that I don't know. I feel like fried chicken and coffee are something that we bonded over outside of like music stuff, you know?
yeah,
At the same time?
yeah. Sometimes, yeah.
Preferably not. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
dude,
I
damn.
mean, I'll drink coffee with like any food. Um, so yeah,
Understandable. It's
like
part of the
actually,
world.
I like coffee and hot wings a lot, which probably sounds crazy.
Oh, I gotta try that.
That
Yeah,
makes sense. Yeah, I do have a couple hot sauces that have coffee in them, and those are always like ones I try to savor. Oh, great. Okay, so it's gonna do that thing. We have roughly 10 minutes left. Um, I think as far as like me cutting up content about the album, we have kind of quite a bit already. But
Great.
I am gonna just circle back a little bit around so we can just go over the beginning just a tiny bit with you, Patrick, if that's okay.
Sure.
Okay, so we already went around the theory behind the title and how it's like more of a mindset, which is funny if I just say it like that out of context. But um
Yeah.
the when you're writing those parts, how much does the tonality of like your pedal board affect the parts that you're writing?
I mean, for this album and for that album, it was mostly like notes first and then effects after. Um, we just met like last week, where I just started with effects right on from the beginning. Um, and I think that's gonna be a nice segue into, the third record writing or this next batch of songs writing. Um, I also need to get new pedals because, two records in with the same shit.
Yeah, have
So if
you
any sponsors, if any pedal companies wants to give me some pedals, I will use
I'm
the fuck out of them.
I'm sure we can put the word out that you know
Hell yeah. Thank you.
sure just change the direction of this whole thing. I mean, not that it could happen, but it won't like that. I'm
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
I'm sure they'll throw themselves at you. Um, but that being said, do you feel the same way about like what amplifiers you choose for the parts, or do you like have a preferred amplifier?
So funny you brought that up. I've been going through like a twin reverb for the first record and subsequently like recording the second one. Um, and then when we were doing the second one, we also like I started patching into both a twin and like a bass amp. And then since finishing the record, like we've gone to tour with was it maybe Algeria when we opened for Algeria's Mark?
Oh,
I
cool.
started going into the PA system,
Oh,
and that
yeah,
just gave me so much more support on the low end and not in a shitty way that I was like, yo, I might just be going through the PA from now on.
yeah,
oh,
yeah. Because you're dealing with a lot of like feedback through the guitar amps and just kind of like depending on the room, like
sure, sure, dude. An
I was
Offender
set up.
twin,
Yeah, it
it's
was
gonna get
just
you.
like, yeah, yeah. So it was a little challenging. So I mean,
Oh man, we played in San Diego. It was the fucking worst. Holy shit. Remember that show? The Black Cat?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. It was pretty
Was
wild.
it too much feedback or?
It
There was
was
feedback through the entire set.
yeah, it was kind of a noise set. So,
Yeah.
I think
um,
like the audience was down because they didn't know what was happening, but both of us were like, "Holy fuck, this is a mess."
yeah, yeah. So yeah, we've kind of dialed back from the guitar amp setup a bit for now. Um, you know, and that's is yeah, it's just a lot easier to control just going pedal board straight
Sure.
through. But
I'm sure when we record new material, like record, like I'm sure we'll use like amps for different sections, but for a
yeah,
live setting, like the PA is definitely very clutch.
Interesting. Yeah, and I bet there's like a lot of once it comes to recording, like there's a not that I'm suggesting any particular way, but there are probably a lot of plugins that can do what like a PA would do for you in terms of like accommodating your low end while also like giving you some other options. But that sounds exciting. Mark, do you ever feel like messing with a pedal board with your drums?
I've done that a bit. So like I've done some kind of like a little bit of solo stuff where you have like contact mics around the drum kit,
Ah, okay.
running
Yeah.
through pedals and stuff like that, which is super fun. Um, so I haven't incorporated any of that with Oort Smog. That's the kind of thing where probably try it on a recording first, and then I don't know, foolishly create a difficult to replicate situation and have to figure out live.
I feel like you do that a lot already. Like there's the part where you're doing a lot of those snare stickings where it sounds kind of like a bunch of drumsticks falling on the rims of the snare. And I want to say it's like 4 or 5 minutes in. It's kind of where things kick off in the video. Uh where there's just like a lot of sticking and clicking. And I was just like, I don't know. Is he using like his foot to do one of those things? Like it's just very cool. I figured a pedal might make that easier, but I understand not wanting to do that.
Dude,
Yeah,
Mark's drumming is the best part of Oort Smog.
I don't know about that.
I'll say I wish everyone could see him play because when we're writing stuff, I'm like, oh my god.
That's pretty. I love just knowing that good drummers are out there doing good drummer things. Because I mean, some towns they are not there, and or there's only one, and they're in 10 projects. You know how it is. I'm sure you know the drummer life. I don't have to explain the jokes to you. Um, but
Sorry, Mark, I cut you off. Oh yeah, you're gonna say something? Sorry.
No, no, we're good.
Okay.
So I wanted to just last thing I wanted to flip back around is when the album was being recorded, what were the feelings like of recording these parts? Some of them seem very emotional, but I feel like that can be a really deceptive thing for a listener versus who's recording it. And then it also might be intentionally ambiguous, but like, was it an emotional process or was it something where it was thought out? And then also you have 3 minutes and 30 seconds to answer the question.
I would say yes, but also probably internal to each of us. Like we didn't talk about any of that. We just that's just kind of how some of the sections came out in the writing process. And then when we were going to we were recording this on a day when there was like crazy street protests going on in 2020. And I think we were pretty attuned to just the sort of like the feeling of the material by that point. And I think as an individual musician, you just kind of put a lot of yourself into that stuff. It's sort of a vessel to kind of dump things into. Um, and then I think also as a listener to things like that, you can relate to it in whatever way you want. So I think it's cool to have that, especially in instrumental music and stuff, where it's it's there, but it's in the ear of the listener.
Yeah, no, it's almost like the most difficult part. I feel like as an artist in that paints with sound. It's like there's for me, maybe there's other theories regarding this, but like I feel like it's the hardest of arts to perceive is probably music, because there's no like visual aspect and we're just such visual creatures. But um yeah, I would say that like as objective as it is, or sorry, yeah, subjective as it is, but not in like a post-rocky way, those emotional moments like really sort of grab, um I don't know, very intensely. So that's why I asked, is I was like, that it seems very intentional that like the emotion is like heightened at this part. And that's why I asked earlier about like improv versus writing and like the ratios there.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just kind of what we arrived at. And, when we play this stuff live, it tends to follow, in broad terms, a similar flow, although it's some things have evolved, some things come out differently night to night. It's not like we're kind of trying to channel the exact same emotional aspect to it, but it's just always kind of there, in some form. And yeah, it's just, I think that's just kind of part of the whole deal with creative expression.
Sure.